And we are now streaming. Whoops, hold
Ready?
on, hold on. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, we're now streaming everywhere. YouTube was taking a while.
Okay, so should I begin the reading of our intros?
Absolutely.
Welcome everyone to the Boston Poetry Marathon who is viewing remotely. Welcome to all our readers who are in our little Zoom room. Readers, please make sure your camera is directed at your entire face or at whatever it is you happen to wish to be showing the audience while you're reading. Please make sure also that your face or whatever it is that you're attempting to show the audience is well lit. When I say your name, please give a short greeting so we can have a sound check and let me know if I pronounced your name correctly. We will introduce you again after we go live. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're already doing the live part.
We've already gone live, so you can scoot down.
Oh,
Yeah.
just scoot all the way down. Everybody
Yeah.
knows they only have 5 minutes and I'm going to send you a message and interrupt you. Okay. So we've done that. Hello to our readers and viewers for the Boston Poetry Marathon 2021. I am your name. Our technical host for the day is Suzanne Mercury. Thank you, Suzanne, and our organizers for this year's Boston Poetry Marathon online for 2021. Christina Liu, Christina Strong, Suzanne Mercury, and Bridget Eileen. Thank you to the organizers. Thank you to our volunteers for the weekend, Gilmore Tammany, Daniel Pritchard, Tom Bailey, Joe Elliott, Your Name, Brendan Lorber, and Chad Parentu as special assistant to Carol Weston. We're streaming live to our Facebook page at Boston Poetry Marathon, our Twitter via Periscope at Boston Poetry Mara, and live on our YouTube channel. For links to these broadcasts, go to, all lowercase, no spaces, Boston Poetry Marathon, WordPress.com/watch. This year's Boston Poetry Marathon is a fundraiser for local organizations that work for racial justice in support of the Black Lives Matter and Stop Asian Hate movements. Donations will go to Sista Fire, Rhode Island, the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts, and the Boston Chinatown Neighborhood Center. Admission to the Boston Poetry Marathon is free, but a $10 or more donation to our fundraiser is recommended and appreciated. Please go to, all lowercase, no spaces, Boston Poetry Marathon, WordPress.com/donate for more information. Go to the pin post or the bios in our social media for these links as well. I'm going to introduce the readers for the hour right now. They'll give a quick hello so we can double check their audio and connection. Okay, now I say each reader's name. Joe Elliott. Okay, Joe Elliott doesn't unclick his mute to say hello. He just
Hello.
Thank you. I'm going in the order that the names appear in the in my little view screen and not in the order they're going to be reading. I guess I better go to the order they're reading. I know Joel's first this time around. So, Christy Towers.
Hi.
Maria Luisa Arroyo.
Hello.
Pamela Bailey Powers.
Hello.
Simone Barry. No, I did
Simeon
that
Barry.
wrong.
Excelsior, y'all.
Jonathan Bennett Bonilla.
Hello, everyone.
Pam Mates.
Hello.
Oni Buchanan.
Hi, everyone.
April March Penn.
Hi.
Suzanne O'Toole.
Hello.
All righty. What do I do next? I think we start. Let's see, the tech host. Tech host, please switch to speaker view and let us know that's all set.
We are in speaker view and we are ready to rock and roll.
Our first reader of the hour is Joe Elliott.
Hi, everyone. It's really great to be at the Boston Poetry Marathon again. I want to thank everyone who organized. And here's my first poem is called Quiet. I think of all the birds who, watching her as she gardened, watching her without her watching them, knew her with so well and without words, and think of how they flew away without saying anything, and how she flew away, and how all the words in the world flew away too. Young people. My 21-year-old son left a note for me on the table to wake him up at 6 a.m. I woke him up at 6 a.m. and soon he was back asleep. I woke him up at 7 a.m. and soon he was back asleep. I woke him up at 8 a.m. and soon he was back asleep. By the time he woke up on his own, in the afternoon, I was asleep. I had biked to work, worked, biked back, and was taking a little November nap with the dogs and cats. By the time he woke up and was married and had kids, and those kids were grown, and he was trying to wake them up, I had already been asleep for 3 or 4 years. Missing ritual number 247. Come closer. What is that rusty, fuzzy stuff sprouting from your chin? That thin, filmy blur on your upper lip? Could it really be beard, or more likely, could that mug of yours use a washcloth and soap? When did this start happening anyways? How is this even possible? Why didn't you tell me? And why is it red? No, don't turn away. Come here. Now, I am your father. Hold still. Let me place my hand on your face and feel that good fuzz. And you place your hand on my cold face and feel my stubbly shadow. Dear Chris, every day for 35 years, you fly a mile up in the air, and now you can't get up off the bathroom floor? Are you serious? That wasn't a very nice thing to do to your wife, dropping dead in front of her like that. You really scared her. You waited 43 years to see Pammy again? You couldn't wait another 15 or 20? Did they give your dad back his legs? Did they give him season passes to their cloud-enshrouded peaks? Did they let him get together with his dead pals and play cards? Does he still smoke Moors? Does he have to smuggle them in, or do they turn a blind eye? Do angels even bother about sin? What's sin anyways? It's not like the cigarettes are going to kill him. Even though churches are probably unnecessary in heaven, do they nevertheless let your beautiful mom go ahead and arrange flowers and vases and place the vases on altars up there too? Or did they actually put her in charge? Did they hand her a fucking scepter and put her up there on the right hand of God and let her humility lord it over the living, so that soon everyone will finally get out of their cars and start walking on the side of the road quietly and slowly to better prepare themselves inwardly for their next errand of mercy? The problem with you is that even though you stopped smoking so much pot, you're still a stoner. You just have to fly higher and higher and higher. Now you can't get any higher. I hope you're satisfied. I used to look up at the sky, and when I saw a plane flying overhead, I always thought maybe it's you. Now what am I going to do? How am I going to keep on being reminded of you? Your faithful cousin, Joe. Last poem. Since they did not have a machine, I got to fill up their red kettle and put the kettle on the stove and then go take a second morning piss. Now that I'm older, the first one doesn't quite do the trick. I got to get distracted by and start leafing through an old poetry book on the bathroom shelf until I was summoned when the kettle began to whistle back to the kitchen. Then I got to rummage around the cupboards and pantry for a funnel a large masonry jar, the paper towels from which I tore off a square section, which I folded in quarters to make a filter, and the coffee itself, which I found in the freezer and was glad had already been ground. Then I got to scoop the coffee into the filter, which was nestled in the funnel, which was resting on the wide mouth of the large jar. Then I got to tip the kettle and pour the water over the grounds with one hand, while holding the funnel steady with the other, and then wait while the water steeped and slowly passed through the coffee and trickled from the bottom of the filter into the jar. And then I got to repeat this process, tipping the kettle again and again every so often when the water level had sufficiently fallen. And in between each of these dousings, I got to look up out the wide window over the kitchen counter at the wet field and the wet woods and the wet gray sky and see what no one else, they were all still sleeping, just me, was seeing at the moment, and hear the steady drumming, dripping rain. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe Elliott. Our next reader, is Christy Towers. Please unmute yourself, Christy.
Hi, thank you, Douglas. Thanks, people, for being here. I'm gonna read two poems about, being a stressed out gay nun, kind of, and then two poems that I wrote in the last 24 hours, because that's the best part of the marathon, is it makes you like write again after many months. So yeah, fresh and new. For now and for centuries onwards, fall to the earth, bow or kneel, keep silence, for all souls departed endure the pains of prisoners. Fettered in misery, have pity, mercy, raise up God's body. Out of the depths, stand as you are able, out of terrible pain, standing. My soul is narrow, a small window, forget the world. Gleaming entirely out of body, I am here, arising all broken. Grant me to see your face, brighter than the sun. Another one. And I heard a heavenly voice speak. A reddish color, a golden girdle unutterable, a lamb appears, a golden ray all brighter, adorned, a voice speaks. A color similar to the dawn, from her throat down to her uncovered hyacinth, she glowed. She spoke to me of darkness. I was thrown into a language, a darkness so horrible. And the light, white as a cloud from her navel downward, a hyacinth she had not yet come into existence. And again, I heard the stars, and her voice like a hand touched me. And this poem doesn't have a title yet. It's just about walking around in Somerville being like, oh, this is where I live, and some other stuff. Every few blocks, Jesus appears. Chest fingered gently open to reveal a flaming heart. A thorny wound at the center of a garden surrounded by ragged roses, accidental irises, and ashen alliums fading like dying fireworks. I walk and the heat gets hotter, sears across my shoulder a sharp red line. Around the corner, another shrine. Mary looks down at her feet. Francis tends a bird bath empty, but for his concrete companions. I want to think about anything but God. I want to be angry, but it's too hot, and someone's got a Mary surrounded by a flock of fake flamingos. I take a picture, dead flowers, pink plastic birds, a saint's cement feet peeking in at the corner. It doesn't mean what I want it to. I wanted to show you something secret about my heart, its little thorns and flames, the chain that keeps it locked up. I live in a garden that is burning down, flooded out and hungry. I live in a paradise, a plastic replica of everything holy. I am terrified of love. And this is a poem about texting. It's called Messages. It's the last one. Messages. A tornado overtakes a tiny pink heart. Sneaker in a kick pose. 2 chains and UFO. I am a little purple alien offering spring flowers. You are a black hole with a black heart. You kiss me anyway. In another thread, someone shows me the most improbable boot. We zoom in, we multiply it. Improbable boot is kicking our asses. I say, haha, over and over. I am such a Sagittarius. I heart anything that moves. Michelle from Full House says, you got it, dude, forever. I am never getting out of bed. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy Towers. Our next reader is, I better check my list. Where's my list? Our next reader is Maria Luisa Arroyo.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Boston Poetry Marathon, for the joy of sharing poems today. These poems, 4 poems, are from my poetry manuscript, The Verbs of Our Afflictions. Cuéntame, tell me. Why do I have to write my history in the air? How long will it take for my mother tongue to heal? How do you say bilingual in American without spitting? Is it possible to have 2 hearts as I do 2 languages? Who sees me as I am and not as invisible? When will I stop using my words like shields? ¿En cuál idioma amo más, sufro menos? In which language do I love more, suffer less? Where are the American teachers who broke my tongue to save my life? These 3 poems are dedicated to my father, Jerónimo Arroyo Figueroa, born in Ponce, Puerto Rico, 1941, and died in Springfield, Massachusetts, 2016. Another creation myth, 1941, Ponce, Puerto Rico. Heron's love, her coconut sweat, her hair black rain to her knees that hid the twist of her spine. Her laughter, cascabeles, her sweetbreads, her whispers of his name, ay, Herón. Every time he wrote her a song in their bed, illuminated nights by lantern light. Every dawn, Maria's kiss before his walk toward sugarcane. News, lightning. Her Mama Luisa hurries, not the midwife. Tears sprout from Maria's eyes, the curve of her spine, impossible passage for birth. When he returns, Herón burns all the songs he wrote as offerings to God and all the saints. Yes, how they sung in the flames. The day their first son was born, the day that his beloved survived. This time, this birth. Aftermath, 1943, Ponce, Puerto Rico. Papa Herón ties again the hammock higher above the dirt floor, now mud, after Huracán Calixto. Junior grabs his leg, terrified of the bulging eyes, the slimy skin, of the frogs that hop in through the door broken by the wind. Mama Maria is dying. Abuela Luisa begs her, no empujes, mija, baby, don't push, this time. Mama's twisted spine nodded like her long black hair. The baby nodded in her womb, no way out. Last poem. Orphans Ache, Ponce, Puerto Rico, 1953. Only Abuela Luisa knew about his fear of frogs, about muddy loneliness, of Papa too, now dead, among cane, a machete gash in his head exploding. Lean with grief, Junior looked for dangerous work, climbed coconut trees, let himself be lowered into slimy holes, the rope around his waist, the only tether, as he dug wells deeper. 1959, Class 1A, his orphan's ache, his want to be belong, his name carefully signed for Vietnam. Abuelo Rufino Barbero grabbed the card, ran to town before his scissors hit the ground, his hand tight around Junior's wrist. 2 death certificates later, Class 3A. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. That was Maria Luisa Arroyo. Our next reader will be Pamela Bailey Powers.
Yes, thank you everyone so much. These poems are from my book, forthcoming, finished, I'm happy to say, Gifted and Moth-Eaten, Poems and Pen and Ink Art, in response to Pablo Neruda's El Libro de las Preguntas, the Book of Questions, from William O. Daly's translation, Copper Canyon, 1991. Why does the earth grieve when the violets appear? ¿Por qué se entristece la tierra cuando aparecen las violetas? Taproot and the still cup, urine roseate blue, under sun, under moon, in eye blink gone. Yo te quiero. I will tell you what I want you to do. Pour runoff from the pauper rose, blue rain catch into the fool's cap. Drink nectar, be merry, wear a button flower drawn from meadow stalk. The carnival's in town. Fiesta and white moths are drawn to human light. This is from another poem. It's a coda to Is It True That Amber Contains the Tears of the Sirens? Es verdad, el ámbar contiene las lágrimas de las sirenas. Coda, lacrimae rerum, the tears of things, from Aeneas. Storm fire brings necessities, freeing seed wings from conifer to the forest's gray ash floor. Oh, the dark costs of flame, of bark, blood, resin, in seep and catch. I have watched the redwoods burn. Dawn sea fret shrouds the sea salt pine, where flees the chicory. Rain is rare in the thirst pine cliffs. Mist outdone of salt lifts from sea to tree, slake and quaff. It is this tearing of salt from the sea that is the siren's song. I hear your name calling, calling lilt song in the high branch boughs. My weave-worn glove holds an amber and jeweled blue bottle fly. Sky echoes moan, that old lament, morn song, what I know of you. With which stars do they go on speaking, the rivers that never reach the sea? And what will you give me, the landman begged. The house with its grayed shingles and driftwood half shack would come down quickly, hammer and bonfire. We stood like we did during October games, cheering on, sparks wafting our shorn shock lunacies. What will you give me? What will you take? We barter as the house echoes waves, buckling dunes. We will give you our star of stock and gold. Even as we entwined in our bed, we were sealing promises to move on, to leave the unfixable. The landman tallied, the landman scored. We arose to undo our satchels, make kindling of shirt and book. The house no more. We set off, north, south, east, or west, if we could just keep going. Follow, Arctic Bear, follow, Southern Cross, Star of the East, setting sun, salt waves, even in landlock, make themselves known. We could smell them, Gulf and Dead Sea. And the final poem. If all rivers are sweet, where does the sea get its salt? Si todos los ríos son dulces, ¿de dónde saca sal el mar? In the cold canyon of the ice swamp, cypress knee and mangrove, leach green to the one-celled, the flagellate, the bloodworm. Wintry changes belong quiet, white bone, lace of vein, and saproot. You and I unbear ourselves to hide within with what's left of spring mosses. Those tall grasses gone brown along with mud cover us over as our skin gets to know what we were before the weaver's tricks. The dried out once living things no longer themselves await the backwash, the sand throw of fin and terrapin. Milk runs the belly despite the stillborn. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Pamela. That was fabulous. That was Pamela Bailey Powers. Our next reader will be Simeon Barry.
Thanks, Douglas. So glad to be here with everyone. And also thank you to all the organizers. I'm going to read a few poems written in the past year, starting with a new one that I just wrote today, following Joey Gould's tradition of writing a new poem on the day of a reading. It's called Tampa Sutra. Once in the house of an evicted witch, someone gave me a cordial of Paisleyed syrup with metal in it. Crumpled gold coins like a frat boy's dream of D&D. 3 rooms had been cleared, but the rest were pale paper dungeons with paths through the stacked newspaper. All that emaciated language like a warehouse of forensic reports on the glorious dead. Outside, the witch's hog lowered its clawfoot bathtub carcass to rut in the dust like a grub. That year, I was pulled along in an eddy of friends to clubs where I'd stand like a wounded hat rack while 80s lasers played over my body. And it seemed that the thin glissando of booze drifted me here to this unreal conjunction of this cinnamon shot and eldritch illness in a Formica kitchen of yellow specks. Like the broken spines of mass market fantasy novels that accumulated in my youth. I was a clumsy chapter ending, an adverb diaphanous as the skin of gin on a triangular drink. Dark they were and golden-eyed, said Bradbury in his tentative melodrama, and I was the opposite, too badly dressed to be a goth, a dilettante with a self-destruct device. And this one's called SSRI. Sometimes I live inside that billboard for an opiate blocker, the one featuring a guy with just the suggestion of a beard who looked like he'd signed an insurance policy written in arthritic Klingon. They tell me there are rules for how happy the paid people in these ads can be, cautiously content, but not ecstatic. Do I really feel, or have I stocked the humming blue aisles of my hippocampus with the approximate? The susurrus of knockoff pills and raucous bottles to distract from reverse engineered cryptid ingredients, yak hair and nictitating membrane, aqua algae formerly keeping the lowest profile at the bottom of a lake. My therapist floats his theory that my dysthymia makes my soul room temperature, which at best turns me into Morpheus when he gets written off in Gaiman's Sandman and becomes affable and patterned as a paper receipt. Yet there is still too much of me, an unstrung guitar that cannot escape the hourglass. Since ever I wished to be harmless, to elude the lead overcoat of testosterone, yet not so moderate that stuffed animals were sexier. But that's a crock of afterthought. The fear of what you may be is what you are, as the mystics goddamn well knew. And me, standing out in the drizzle of the best ad hoc atmosphere science can provide, swallowing gratefully the daily encapsulation of my lack. Thanks for coming out, all.
Thank you, Simeon. That was Simeon Berry. Our next reader will be Jonathan Bennett Bonilla.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the organizers, and hello to all you out there. I'm reading from some new poems from a manuscript titled Destroyer of Worlds. Dark Wish. War drums beating. No restrictions on a crazed president and a crazed republic. Observe closely a nation fall. Chant down Babylon. How to document an empire's fall from inside the empire's walls. The past is never dead, though it does sometimes sleep. If the president's conscience cannot be cleared of the will of a people, then neither can a people be cleared of the acts of its sovereign. No pasarán. The best way to fight evil is to strive toward the good. The king must die. Long live the king. Free speech wants to get free, to say everything in order to free speech from its binds, in order to say everything. Today, I was a cloud. I clouded myself. I clouded my students. I clouded myself from my students, students from myself. Today, I was a cloud. I like being so puffy, so expansive. Curtain pulled across the stage to conceal us from ourselves. I is a foil to we. We is a foil to they. They is a foil to I. I is a multiplicity. Soon I will be nothing, but not too soon. They, we, I hope and pray. This is my last poem. Chant down Babylon. It is a prayer. It is a recitation. It is a dark wish making for empires to fall, for powers to topple. Who cries the nation state? Who hears the subaltern speak? Mute stranger, speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. That was Jonathan Bennett Bonilla. Our next reader will be Pam Mates.
Hello, everyone. And thanks to the organizers who made this possible. It makes me very happy for my poems to be part of this river of poetry. So lately, I've been writing poems about the illustrations of animals in medieval bestiaries. Those bestiaries contain descriptions of animals, real and imagined, and they draw moral lessons from the descriptions. There are also amazing illustrations that show the animals living their own lives in ways that contradict the moralizing. So this poem is about an image in a 13th century bestiary. My favorite painting of apes. For centuries, the mother ape has balanced on her left foot, the right lifted mid-step. For centuries, the baby riding on her back has embraced her neck and nuzzled her head. And the baby the mother holds in front of her has been leaning forward, looking into the mother's face. There are hunters. There are always hunters. Each of the apes seems to be calling the others darling. How can such sweetness be now when an arrow just missed the mother's leg? When one hunter hefts his cudgel and another with an odd smirk watches, tugging on a flap of his robe. The mother hasn't had to decide yet whether to run at the hunters or away from them, whether she can keep holding two babies or one or none. The painter left little daubs of black on the apes' brown coats. They look like the dots at a sunflower center. The ones that, looked at close up, are tiny blossoms. This next one is also a poem about animals, but not from a bestiary. I guess it's about animal-human relationships. Slow time. Cordy, my rabbit, my companion in animal life, is old and almost blind. I cut her greens into small pieces. Her food bowl, her water bowl, her litter box lined with hay must remain exactly where they always have been. After she eats, I rub the muscles along her jaw and slowly stroke the long curves of her ears, formal as calla lilies. She lowers her chin to the floor and, wheezing, dozes. She's not waiting for anything. And this is the last one I'm going to read. It's called Comfort. You were not ready to call hospice, though when you were awake, you were in pain. And you wanted more fentanyl than nurses could give. I brought extra strength Tylenol in chapstick tubes. I brought the poppy seed cookies you used to like. You took the plate, set it down. You could not sleep, you said, yet you told me your nightmares. Or were they confessions? I did not know. You'd seen survivors at Dachau, you said, and you shot a German soldier after he surrendered. I'd seen you enraged often enough to feel it might be true. I considered telling you a dream of my own, since you'd relished peeks into others' sooty hearts. Maybe the one about huddling in a plexiglass cube, nowhere to hide, bloodstains. But I was afraid you'd use it against me. I wish I told you to imagine the world's largest glass jar, to fill it with poppy seeds, then to break it, to let the seeds scatter so far no one could see them all or know the center of their spread. The way stars reveal themselves in boundless sky in the right kind of dark, and you and I among them, for the moment alive. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. That was Pam Mates. Up next, Oni Buchanan.
Hi, thank you so much, Douglas. And thank you to the Boston Poetry Marathon organizers and just to everyone for being here, for showing up. It's such an amazing community, and the willingness to share with words, with listening, with life minutes is just really powerful. I look forward to this every year. So I was going to just read two poems, and they're collaborative poems written by me and 4 other Boston poets. Those poets are, so it's me, it's Tanya Larkin, John Woodward, Anna VQ Ross, who read on Thursday night, and John Mulrooney, who was going to read in the 8 o'clock hour later tonight. So we set up an assembly line of typewriters, and we just like sit outside with a big long table of typewriters, and we have some game constraints posted. And passersby can choose 3 words depending on what constraints we post that day, and they submit them to us and we type up a poem on the spot. And it's really fun. 3 of us make each poem, so you're like, you either get the beginning, the middle, or the end. And of course, it's totally different depending on where you are in the lineup, and you have to respond to not only the words of whoever happened to walk by and want to play this game, but also of the other poets before you. So it's really fun. And I'll just read, I'll read 2 of them. Also typographically, of course, our typewriters are all different, so they look really cool. I think John Mulrooney might show one of these in the 8 o'clock hour. I'm not sure. So I'll read one called I've Been to Billerica. I've been to Billerica. Summer times in the Everglades, curtain calls in mid-3rd act, semper fees and mirror shades, golems lost in mazeless fact. Frat boys on crotch rockets lost, daring each other to litter. Daddy in any case will pay the fines. And besides, shame. Shame is healthy cocktail. Humiliation in front of the state police, even healthier. Oh, I've been to Billerica, all right. In a turtle suit, in a padded room. It doesn't sound anything like ballerina, though the feet indeed are bound. Even the large print books are too blurry, and they've deprived me of my testicles, spectacles, wallet, and watch. Watch this intake with my naked body powdered and deloused. It's lousy, cloudless floundering in here. Officer Cockrock first to the scene of the disturbance. And then I will read one more. This one is called Flying Winter Wolfcat. Wolfcat is all caps, and this poem has purposely like a lot of text that is crossed out, is X'd out. So, you know, you type it on the typewriter and then you backspace and then you X over it. I don't know how to read that, but I guess I'll just pause when there's a bunch of X's. So, Flying Winter Wolfcat. Hey, is the second part of Wolfcat any place? And are any of us, I only now ask, part of Wolfcat, or is our we its? Pictures of centaurs, muscles all good, arms akimbo, question marks. The background, is that 100% Wolfcat, or like 1/2 or 3/4, or more like 1/4? Hey, snow, that's how wolf cats invisible themselves, fraction themselves down. Local fallow flow, fellow wolf cats bow before the scat of gods. A hole in which wolf cats disappear. They duck under the commuter tracks. Their fame is under deck at the yacht club. Underdone, never outdone, never backslashed. Hey, is it a part, a piece, a dismemberment of Wolfcat? Listen, Wolfcat, listen closer. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Oni. That was Oni Buchanan. Our next reader is April March Penn.
Hi, everyone. This is April, and also Suzanne is here. We are at a public transportation center. Apologize for the inconvenience. If there is an announcement or strange noise, I will either power through or pause for a sec. Thank you to the Boston Poetry Marathon organizers. I've been going to the Boston Poetry Marathon for maybe a decade. It's how you live, eat, and breathe poetry in Boston. And I hope that we can meet in person again. But for now, this has been a great experience. So I have a few poems to share. This first poem is called Affect. The poet likes water towers, has a particular fondness of one in Wichita Falls they saw long ago and never learned how to forget, though childhood was stunning, dislocations from self, a possible excuse. The creative always have more desire than ideas of how to be fulfilled. Art is stunning, dislocations from self, body fighting, but who knows the flavor of the dust on my wings. Sometimes I want people to think they are successful reading my face more than I want them to realize what I'm feeling. I am just like you, I imagine. My face is always trying to say the location of all my locations, a library of the wind. I just realized that reading that was fitting because I'm wearing a mask. So, okay, this next poem is called The Secret Life of Introverts. 1. Being expressive alters the nature of an experience, overhealing to the point that the effort to heal becomes an injury, a swimming pool that only other swimming pools can dive into. 2. A sense of urgency. Quick, the apocalypse is coming and I need to get solar-powered flashlights so I can watch myself die. 3. I like when people are direct and don't expect me to read between the lines. And I like poetry, which seems like a mistake considering my first preference. The best mistake I've ever made is to like poetry. I mean, how else can someone face failure so head on? 4. The director of first impressions. That's what the job posting says instead of receptionist. Passive. Is that better now? 5. As I lie in bed, a little door opens in my chest and a cuckoo bird pops out, repeating the usual advice. Don't care what other people think of you. Sell yourself. Relax. 6. What do you think is happening? A. At a loss about toiling for an abusive system under the guise that I'm somehow countering that abuse. Brainstorming cuddling technique. I don't understand little spoon, big spoon. Aren't spoons that stack the same size? C. Wondering why we say paying attention like awareness is a debt. 7. Someone is telling a story. I only hear every fourth line as I'm folded into a golden envelope. I might be becoming tiny worms of light, but nobody knows. I'm afraid I won't be able to animate my presence. I'll end up murmuring, my face is not my face. My face is not my face. Over and over into a pillow that holds my head, but doesn't remember a single dream. 8. I don't know why, but whenever I try to meditate, I get artificially angry at folks who have gifted me adult onesies. These never fit me. I'm too lanky. 9. Goal setting. I think I want to have more social skills than sexual desire. 10. How do I become important? One piece of art asks. You don't have to do anything, answers another. All right. What use is the artist? My best friend detests costumes and I can't remember why. Did he say it is because he is always trying to play himself and that is enough? Yes, that's what I said, he shouts while I read on the open mic. It would be too hard to play himself playing another character, like unwanted nesting dolls. An egg inside an egg inside an egg. The tiniest egg is hatching now, but there is nothing I can do to open it until the others also hatch. And that will take my entire life. What use is the artist? Asked the businessman. The artist will help you know whether or not the egg inside the egg inside the egg has hatched and what that means for your future. If you don't know, you might discombobulate into using a fork to eat yogurt. Thank you all. Really had a great time reading, and I'm going to pass this off to Suzanne. And thanks for hanging in there. Again, we apologize if there's any sort of interruptions or weird noises. We'll either pause or power through. And here's Suzanne O'Toole.
Thank you.
I think you're on mute.
Yes,
Oh.
Suzanne, you have muted yourself.
Thank you. I think we're better now. Is that?
You are better now.
Oh.
Perfect.
Thank you. All right, I have a few pieces. I'll start with this one. It's called Baffin Bay. There was nothing else to feel, also nothing else to say. And so we called it off that cold November day. You had booked a ticket somewhere better, far away, and my mind bought a house just overlooking Baffin Bay. I helped you pack your stuff, packed you up and sent away, and I prepared for nothing. Dust settled in its usual way. Mail came and went, neighbors stared, some people say, but none of their letters found me off the coast of Baffin Bay. You settled in quite nicely, started up, began to play, and winter hugged me tightly, bore my threadbare soul away. Mailman looked shocked to see me, shook his head in slight dismay. I never left a forward address to reach me up in Baffin Bay. Mom and Dad can't teach me, phone lines don't stretch that far away. Preacher's voice can't reach me, wouldn't help or heal with what he'd say. It's cozy where you seek me, a scarf, a hat, and bundled hay. I'm warmed now to the silence, here alone on Baffin Bay. One day the spring may find me, a thaw will melt the frost away. Mother Nature may not mind me, resting where her seals vacay. One day the ropes that bind me will weaken when the words I say free me from my frozen home just off the coast of Baffin Bay. So that's the first one. I have a couple more. One is in form, maybe two in form. This one is called Velveteen. It's about a perfume that Hot Topic used to make. No one expected Hot Topic to cancel our Velveteen. However, it happened. They stopped it sometime before Halloween. There'll be no cotton candy necking, no girlish ghoul of me this year. Cashier said, just buy Sweet Lies or Moonbeam or Fairy Blood or Glimmer, who cares? But my next sniffing friend will be there. But my next sniffing friend will take notice. Oh, but my next sniffing friend will care. It's just that my next sniffing friend will be there and my next sniffing friend's why I'm there. I see, she said, I don't know. It's not even online. It's all gone. I should have stocked up while I could have. What a fool I've been waiting so long. I just know my vampire will sniff me right before we say our goodbyes. And this year, instead of vanilla, I'll harbor the fresh scent of Sweet Lies. It's true, I will say, it's not the right one. Velveteen's over. Please trust that I'm blue. It was sweet while it lasted, my fiend. Now the lies around my neck are for you. All right, I have one more called Clearing Cobwebs. And then I have one other piece that's in form I might read because it's very short. This isn't the first time I've been struck by the beauty of cobwebs, particularly those residing in the corner of the window. What is a cobweb but a spider's last dance glittered with dust, an expression of someone small who tried to siphon a little more out of life? No, this isn't the first time I've been struck by the beauty of this thing built without me. And sometimes I'm a little pensive while wiping them away. Something so fragile, yet still intact despite the wind. Something so fragile, yet relatively undisturbed. Something so fragile, allowed to exist. So I have one last one. It's very short. It's called A Magical Catch. It's in form. In the hideous haze of a ridiculous phase, I wrote more than a phrase for a skeleton. Now I sit here amazed at the myriad ways in which it pays to be your pelican. For nary a book could undo your hook or the blood that it took me to sell again. I'd only sit out to cook by the bank of the brook, but the nod from your look made me well again. All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, April. Thank you, Suzanne. That was April March Penn and Suzanne O'Toole in a public transportation facility. Thanks all the readers this hour. Joe Elliott, let's see, we'll do them in order. Joe Elliott, Christy Towers, Maria, Luisa Arroyo, Pamela Bailey Powers, Simeon Berry, Jonathan Bennett Bonilla, Pam Mates, Oni Buchanan, April March Penn, Suzanne O'Toole. Thank you all. It was really wonderful. I think we want to talk about the donations again. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to jump in here. I was looking at the GoFundMe. This year's Boston Poetry Marathon is a fund. Hold on, let me just go. There we go. So this year's Boston Poetry Marathon is a fundraiser for local organizations that work for racial justice in support of the Black Lives Matter and Stop Asian Hate movements. The donations will go to Sister Fire Rhode Island, the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts, and the Boston Chinatown Neighborhood Center. I want to take a moment to thank everyone who has made donations so far. The response has been overwhelming, and we are very, very close to making our goal. So if you haven't made a donation yet, please go to our GoFundMe page and think about making a donation. It would really be greatly appreciated. And if we hit our goal, it's just going to be amazing. Please go to the bostonpoetrymarathon.wordpress.com/donate for more information. But once again, I just want to say that this has been a great response and we really, really appreciate it. We're so happy that we can turn these virtual readings into fundraisers for our community. And I think it's going to really help. So thank you very much. I'm going to go on mute now.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Quite wonderful.
Thanks
I
all.
recommend going back and having a look at your own reading at some point in the future. It's very nice to be in the room with everybody, talking, hanging out. It's very nice to be able to go back and see what you did and look at last year's readings and this year's readings that have happened already, and maybe you had to get a sandwich and missed someone. So there is an advantage to the methodology of this year. It's been really great. Thanks so much to Suzanne.
Thank you
and
so
Bridget.
much.
Thank
Yeah,
you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
All right, I'm
Thanks,
going to stop
everyone.
the
Thank you.
streaming now. You're great. Beautiful.
Wonderful.
And we're going to
wonderful
take a
work.
break. We've got a break coming up, and then we're regathering at 6 p.m. for the next for the evening's rounds. All right, so see y'all soon.